Yep.
Welcome to the Keeping the Nostalgia Live show. I'm your host, Billy Powell. And as you can see with us is Coach Phil Spence, 1974 North Carolina State University Wolfpack national champion, a coach, played at Vincennes University. That's my 6 degrees of separation when it comes to the state of Indiana. Coach Spence, thanks so much for spending some time with us on the Keeping the Nostalgia Live show to share your memories.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
So who introduced you to the game of basketball?
I started playing when I was in middle school. I would say it goes back probably to my brothers. I have 4 older brothers. I'm the 5th and the youngest, and they all played, and I followed their footsteps. When I was in a junior high school, though, I didn't play that much. I played. As a matter of fact, I'm a 7th grade, 8th grade, and 9th grade teams. I played a total of about 4 minutes, so I didn't really play. I sat on the bench a lot. And then my high school coach from Broughton came over to my middle school. Back then it was all segregated, so it was a white man came over to the black school and asked me if I wanted to transfer to Broughton High School and play over there. And I was saying, wow, if I can't play with the black kids, we can hardly play with the white kids. But he had told me that with his guidance, he could develop me into a pretty good ball player. And in 3 years, I was a high school All-American.
Now, did Pete Maravich go to the same high school that you did?
He sure did. Pete was class of 65 from Broughton High School, yes.
It's interesting. I interview a few people out of Springs Valley, the French Lick area in Indiana, and they always say the 2nd or 3rd most popular person to come out of Springs Valley or French Lick because Larry Bird is
right.
It. So you were a late bloomer.
Late bloomer. What I tell people is that if you were to pop popcorn, if you put all the kernels into the oil at the same time, they are not going to pop at the same time. So I'm going to be late, and I was one of the late ones.
In the state of Indiana, where I'm from, there was one true state champion in Indiana high school basketball. What was high school basketball like in North Carolina?
Well, we had 4 different divisions: 1A, 2A, 3A, and 4A. And we also had the private, so it was different champions. We didn't have just one state champion. When I went to Vincennes and realized that, I said, wow, now that's very competitive when you only have one, which is a true state champion, rather than have 4 or 5 different champions.
So what leads you to Vincennes?
Well, Dean Smith. Dean Smith recruited me from Broughton High School, wanted me to be the next Bob McAdoo. I was going to go to Vincennes for 2 years and then go to Carolina for my junior, senior year. That was the plan. When I got to Vincennes, the rules changed, which means you could transfer after 1 year if you get, I think it was a 2.5 with 28 transferable hours, and I did that. But why did I go to NC State and not UNC, the Hudson Rival? Is because at Vincennes, I was invited to try out for the World Universities game. It was 2 junior college players, myself and one other young man. So we went to Buffalo, New York, and when I got there, I met David Thompson. David approached me and talked to me a little bit. We were trying out. So David sort of hung around with me a little bit, and when we had lunch, Tommy Brunson came over too. So us 3 would sit around and chat a little bit, mostly about Raleigh and North Carolina and stuff like that. And then Coach Sloan came over, and then us 4 would talk and mingle. And that's when David said, Phil, are you going back to Vincennes? And I told him at that point, I'm really not sure, because again, I was going to go 2 years in Vincennes and 2 years in Chapel Hill. So I told him I'm not sure. And then Tommy sort of said, we could really use you, man. You'd be a nice power forward and stuff like that. And then Coach Sloan said, Phil, if you join the Wolfpack, we will be national champs. He didn't do a Charles Barkley. I guarantee he didn't do that. But he pretty much said, if you were to join us, it would be hard for us to not win the national championship. So with all of that going on, I felt a little good about that. And I didn't make the squad. Those two guys did, and Coach Sloan was the assistant coach. So I came back to Raleigh. So whenever they came back to Raleigh, they stopped by the house and talked to mom and everything, and impressed me as well. And mom asked me one question. Said, "Son, why go all over the country when what you're looking for is in your backyard?" So I knew what she meant by that. Stay home. And my mom was 40 when I was born. So if I was 19, she was 59, almost 60. So she was saying, so to stay home now. So I called Coach Sloan and told him I was going to join the pack. Then I had to call Coach Smith, which was a much hard decision because everything was to go to Chapel Hill. And I had to call Coach Smith, and he's a great guy, understood, no problem, So I signed with the pack, and of course we were national champs the next year.
What was your experience like at Vincennes University?
Vincennes was an awesome year. It was the second best year of my college career. Without a doubt. Yes, of course, the national champion was the best one, my sophomore year. But I became a man at Vincennes, first time being away from home. Great coaches, Coach Bradfield and Coach Sparks. Coach Sparks told me on his wings, I never felt lonely. I never felt, I was a little homesick, but I never felt, bad at Vincennes. They sort of nurtured me, and my teammates were just great. We played team ball. We had one mission, one accomplishment, national champs. Coming from a national championship year, I had a great year. I mean, the guys being in the Midwest, different type of weather, different type of people. It was totally different. And again, it's the second best year of my 4-year college career.
What kind of did you get to experience any kind of Indiana high school basketball games while you were there?
I did not go to one. I heard about it and read about it, but I did not attend one. No, but I heard it was the North Carolina basketball doesn't compare, and I was saying, wow. And then I heard about it. I said, man, I believe that basketball history is more rich or richer in Indiana than it is in North Carolina. I would say that.
So did you just see that you guys had a great team, and once you arrived at North Carolina State, did you guys just know that it was was going to happen? Or tell us a little bit about the ups and downs at North Carolina State.
Well, it was pretty much all set. I was talking to one of my Vincennes teammate, Mel Hewlett, and Mel said, "Phil, who was the only person that went to 2 undefeated teams the previous year?" And he said, "You." He said, "When you went to Vincennes, they were 33-0 national champs. And when you went to NC State, they were 27-0. So you were the only guy in the history of college basketball to go to 2 different colleges, and they both were undefeated the previous year." So again, when I went there, it was like, I felt good about it because I had met the nucleus up in Buffalo, Tommy, David, and of course the head coach Sloan. All that was good. So I felt okay. Plus I was home, and I felt more relaxed home than being away from home. So I felt good about that. And then once we started playing, I just fit right in, and I was a defensive guy pretty much and a rebounder. That's something every team could use. So I felt in, and I knew that the main thing was that David was going to be David Thompson, and Tommy was the second option. And by the time he got down to Phil Spence, that was the 4th or 5th option. So it wasn't a whole lot of pressure on me just to do what the other guys aren't doing, pretty much.
What kind of when you were a youngster, did you have a favorite ball player in college or in pro basketball that you kind of emulated your game from? Or was there someone you like to follow? Or who was your kind of a role model in basketball as a youngster?
Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain was the man. He was the big man in the middle, dominated, and I thought I was the big man in the middle until I was invited to the World Universities game. And I realized then 6'8" was not the big man in the middle. Maybe at Vincennes I could dominate there, but once I got there and all those other guys, like I said, it was 2 junior college players and it was 18 senior college players, and I mean those were big name household names. And I went there trying to play with my back to the basket, and I realized then that I got to sort of get away from the basket now because there's some bigger guys such as Tommy Burleson at 7'4". I got to sort of move away from the basket and give him that territory, and I got to find some new territory for myself.
You know, hands down, I think Wilt is the GOAT. I mean, and he changed the game of basketball.
I totally agree. And people say Michael Jordan, and again, I think with the younger generation, all they've seen is Michael Jordan. I can understand it, but when you step back, and if you've seen Wilt Chamberlain way averaging 50 points a game and 30 rebounds a game, and I mean, come on, man, you know, Wilt Chamberlain definitely dominated everything.
And you know, he wasn't allowed to play above the rim.
Right.
So, you know, did you, once you arrived at North Carolina State, did you know that you made the right choice?
Well, I was really fond of Dean Smith. I'm gonna call it like it is. Dean Smith was the one that when I started playing ball at Broadland, as I said before, I didn't. I had a very poor junior high school, so I was in ninth grade. Very poor, like 4 minutes in 3 years, and never played. But when I went to Broadland, and my high school coach was close to Dean Smith, they both took interest in me, and Dean Smith sort of saw something in me, and he helped, you know, cultivate me, encourage me, nourish me while I was in high school. I only went to one basketball camp when I was in high school. And there was Dean Smith basketball camp. Coach Sloan never recruited me, even though Coach Sloan's son was my teammate at Broadland. The only time Coach Sloan recruited me was in Buffalo at the World University game trial. So it was everything was Spence and Carolina, Spence and Carolina. So I really sort of felt bad not following Coach Smith's steps. So I had a little reservation there, but once I got in the mingle, followed David Thompson, who's a great guy. Tommy Burleson is a great guy, great teammates. And then with Mama coming about being home, you know, and then Mom being older, and I was home all the time, even though I stayed on campus. Home was less than 5 miles away, probably less than 3 miles away. I stayed home a lot, so I was around Mom. I had my home cooked meals. It was like I was home and I would go to state to practice and go to school, but it was pretty much, it was like Broughton, really. It was like Broughton, except a little bit further than Broughton High School. It was NC State, same city, pretty much same situation. But I felt good. And then once we started winning and winning and winning and winning, we just kept winning, man. At one point, I think that the whole record there for the 2 or 3 year stretch, we had won 66 out of 67 games or something. It was a heck of a stretch there. So, you know, winning was great. So it made things great.
You had a lot of Indiana connections on that 74 team, didn't you?
I did. A lot of connections. Matter of fact, it might have been more than the North Carolina connections. Coach Sloan, of course, was Indiana, was south of him. I think Sam Esposito, the other assistant coach, was from Indiana. I'm not sure about Sam. I know Art Musselman, the assistant coach, was from Indiana. Of course, Monty, Timmy, Indiana. Bruce Dayhoff, that just passed away. He was Indiana. It was an Indiana connection, whereas it was mostly David, Tommy, and Burrow. Us three were the North Carolina guys that played a lot.
David Thompson was such a great ball player.
Yes, he was.
Just watching old footage and his hops is just incredible. And I'm sure you got to witness that firsthand, of course, you know, playing with him. But what an amazing ball player.
Yeah, David was extraordinary. I would tell people that we had the unfair advantage because it was 6 against 5. David Thompson was 2, you know, so it was really 6 against 5. But we got to see David dunk everybody else, it was illegal. So we would have our practice and practice situations. But then after practice, we would play around and mess around, and they would just dunk a few for us. And I've seen some incredible dunks. I always tell people that it was one dunk I wish David had done in the ABA contest where I knew he would have beaten Dr. J. What he did was he took the basketball and put it right here. He put the ball right here. He took a running start, took the ball's right here, and put the ball over the rim. This is the rim right here. He put the ball over the rim like this and took the offhand and bammed it through. And I said, he said, all of this was up above the rim with all this over, and he bammed it through. What a dunk. What a dunk. Also, I know there were rumors about David taking a dollar off the backboard and leaving 4 quarters. Well, let me tell you the truth. I got up on a ladder and had a dollar bill, a George Washington over there, over the top of the backboard. David had 4 quarters in his hand. David ran and got a good jump, jumped up there, stacked the 4 quarters. I mean, he just didn't put them up there. I mean, he stacked them 1, 2, 3, 4, stacked 4 quarters up there and pulled a dollar out of my hand when he came down. Unreal. David Thompson was I don't know how to describe him. Again, we could be playing, and if I'm defending him, it would be like David is shooting the ball, and I got my hand right there about to block the shot, right there. And somewhere or another, he could go up a little bit more. And I would say, hold up, how can you go up higher when I got to go down to go back up? He's already up, and he's gone on up even higher. Unreal. Unreal. That's some great stories with David. But I want to say this too. The saddest and the happiest moment of my time at NC State came when David Thompson fell over my shoulder. We were playing, I think it was Providence, no, Pittsburgh in the Eastern Regionals. And somebody had, David shot the ball and he got fouled, but the ref didn't call the foul. So David was upset. He gonna go down court and block the guy's shot. Well, he should have let me do it. I was right there, and David jumped over my shoulder. Matter of fact, David's foot hit the top of my shoulder, flipped over, fell head first. His eyes rolled back in his head, blood coming out the back of his head. They put a little smelling sauce on him, trying to wake him up, revive him. Nothing. I said, oh my God, I done killed DT. I felt so bad. I felt so bad. I wanted to find a way in the runners coliseum to run and hide because I just knew it was my fault. I just should have done so. I should have looked around. I felt so bad. And they put him on the stretcher, carried him to the hospital. And then when they brought him back, that was the happiest moment of my life. To see him walking, he's not paraplegic. I mean, he's not handicapped. I mean, I felt so good. I was so glad to see him. So right there in that matter of an hour or so, I went from feeling like the worst guy in the world to so happy and thank you, Jesus, thank you. I mean, it was such a bad ordeal. We watched the game, but for some reason they took that little sequence out. So in 1994, which was 20 years later, Tommy Burleson, we all got together, 20-year reunion. We got together, and so Tommy said, "I'm gonna play that tape." And I begged Tommy not to play it. Tommy, I don't want to see it. Don't do me like that, Tommy. Don't do me like that. No, we're gonna watch it. They want to tape. So Tommy put the tape in there, and there we go. So I closed my eyes like that, peeping through my fingers, but I didn't want to see it. And then I realized it wasn't my fault. It was, but I felt so relieved after 20 years. I carried that burden for 20 years. And then DT was sitting here next to me. And then when I saw that, I jumped up and I said, thank God you fell on your head, boy. Because if you fallen somewhere else, you might have gotten hurt. I was saying that to him. And I was saying, boy, I felt so relieved because I really thought for 20 years I had gotten in David's way and I had caused him to bust his head on the floor and almost killed him. So I really felt rejuvenated. I felt good and proud of myself, and I felt better. So now when we see each other, it's a whole different thing than rather me feeling so guilty that I had caused that. So I'm glad Tommy showed that tape after all.
Tell us about the Final Four experience and becoming national champions. I mean, what are your favorite memories from the Final Four? What are your favorite memories of winning the championship? Can you at the end of explaining this, can you tell us what you were thinking, once you realized you guys were national champions?
I want to go back to Vincennes. I remember all the team, all of us Trailblazers down in the lobby watching UCLA and Memphis State. And I had no earthly idea that I would be in the very next one. No idea. Because again, I was coming back to Vincennes for year 2 to go to Carolina. So none. So first of all, it was in Greensboro, North Carolina, which was to our advantage. We had lost one game, like I said, like a record, I don't know, 60-something. That one was UCLA, St. Louis, 1 versus 2, met in the middle. They beat us pretty good. I think 18 points. They beat us pretty good. We knew we could beat Marquette. We knew they could beat Marquette. So the problem was getting to Marquette, and that was UCLA with Big Bill, who was a great guy. Matter of fact, Bill came in our locker room and wished us luck and everything. He showed Big Bill Wall. We showed luck. I don't know if he meant it or not, but we thanked him. I don't know if he would do it again now, but he came in and wished us luck. To be a national champion is something that you will live with for the rest of your life. No matter where I go or what I do, I'm known as a champion, no matter what I do. And because I'm a champion, everything I do, I want to be a champion. So my fatherhood, my married life, as a teacher, as a coach, as a son, as a brother, as a friend, no matter what I do in life, I want to be a champion because I know how it is to be a champion. So that championship made me who I am, and it continues to make me who I am because I want to be a champion father, grandfather now. I want to be a champion grandfather. So no matter what I do in life, I want to be a champion because I know what it is to be like, and I know what it takes to be a champion. So yes, that championship changed me forever.
And do you have your ring on?
I don't have it on. It's downstairs. I got I see yourself in the background. I should have been downstairs. I got a whole room downstairs of everything. I was about to show my watches. I got the 5 watches, and I was about to say I had a great time at NC State. Let me close these down. I had a great time at NC State from 1973 to 1976. I have a 1973 Sugar Bowl Classic watch, 73. 74, I have the NCAA championship watch. In 74, I was a part of the Expo 74 out in Spokane, Washington, USA versus the USSR. That was 74. 75, I have my Big 4 watch, Duke, Carolina State, and Wake Forest. And in 76, I have the NIT watch. So I got that stuff downstairs. I got on how many trophies. I have my red NC State jersey hanging up downstairs. I got my Vincennes number 40 white jersey hanging up downstairs. It's just a room full of trophies from coaching. I coached 20-some years, my coaching stuff and NC State national champion stuff. So it's just, I got a whole lot of stuff downstairs.
You've won the national championship and you guys are on this, we're champions. How do you go into a next season with those expectations? Well, were there expectations How did you guys maintain your head?
Well, we maintained it mainly because of Monty Tao. Monty Tao, the little short guy, that the best leader I've ever been associated with. Monty was a great leader, and he led us the right way. And you got David Thompson, the National Player of the Year, coming back. Matter of fact, of the 6 guys that played on the 74 team, 5 returned. Tommy Burleson was on the senior on that team. So we had Tim Starter coming back, and then I would replace Tommy. And then we still had Mo Rivers, Monty Tao, and David Thompson. So we had a 5, and we brought in Kenny Carr. So we pretty much had a real good squad still. So we continue on the very next year.
And Monty, Converse, Indiana, I think, if I'm not mistaken. What was, when you got to North Carolina State after going to Vincennes, tell us a little bit about, was there any kind of race? What did you run into in your career? Did you have any problems with race issues?
Yes. Back then it was different. It's not like it is now. Back then it was beginning to. When people look at a basketball team now, the white guys are the minority. Then when we came along, the black guys were the minority. So it was different then. We sort of broke the ice. We sort of I guess had to prove ourselves more so that we belong not only on the court but in the classroom as well. We pretty much had our HBCU if we wanted to play college basketball. So it was different. It was different. I think with us being as good as we were, winning a lot, we were more readily accepted. But we found some, the 70s were some tough times.
What were your, while you're after you've won the national championship, what were your aspirations for professional basketball? And tell us, what leads up to the end of your college career, and where do you go from there with professional basketball?
Well, I got drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks, 6th round. Now they only do 2 rounds, so I wouldn't have gotten drafted nowadays. Again, I wanted to play pro ball, but I had there was a lot of tension. Like I say, Dean Smith was more the type coach that I was the type player, to be honest. I was the type player. I lost my dad when I was 16, and my head coach was a father figure to me. And my high school coach was a great father figure to me, Ed McClain, greatest coach I've ever played for. And then when I went to Vincennes, Bradfield and Sparks, especially Sparks, took me under his wings and sort of, filled in that void as a father, But then when I got to the state, Coach Sloan was business, straight up. I'm your coach. All this other stuff, take a back seat. And with me being 16 and not having a daddy to go home to share things with, to express myself, feel why you crying, feel how do you feel. I did not have that. So when I finished state, it was time for me to sort of do something else. I really feel that if I had approached Milwaukee Bucks or really anybody wholeheartedly, 100% determined to become a professional basketball player, I believe I could have done that. But I had just gotten to the point where basketball just wasn't fun anymore. I wanted to do something else, which was to become a high school teacher and coach. And that's what I became. And I knew that the type of coach I was going to be a coach that the kids could look at me not only just as their coach, tough love type coach, but also somebody they can come and talk to. As a matter of fact, when I was coaching at North Carolina Central, the word had gotten out to where if any student had a problem, they could go to Coach Spence's office and talk to him. And a lot of young people, men and women, would start by the office and say, Coach Spence, I need to talk to you. I need somebody to hear me out. I need some ears, or I need some advice, and can you help me? Several people come to me, Coach Spence, I got this girl pregnant and I don't know what to do. Coach Spence, this is happening in my life and I don't know what I should do about it. So I became more of not just a basketball coach, but as somebody that people could come and talk to. So that was my role. High school, college, I was a basketball coach and won a lot of games, won championships. But I was more of a, if you need me, because that is the most important part of your life, the foundation of your life. And I was there to sort of help the young people like I wanted to be helped. And I got the help on several levels. But going back to NC State, I did not get that from Coach Sloan. Coach Sloan was just a hard, no nonsense, this is the way it is, move on type of a person. And that's what I had to deal with.
So was it, you're like, I have to hang up the sneakers. When does coaching come to your mind? When, and how does getting a coaching job transpire for you?
Coaching came to my mind at the end of my junior year at State. My senior year was all about academics, all about graduation, all about going down a different road, all about going in a different direction. My senior year, even though I averaged a double my junior and senior year in ACC, which was great. I see guys averaging 5 and 6 rebounds a game. And I said, Lord Jesus, I did that in the first half, So, but, I wanted something else. It was a constant fight. It was a constant battle. And, but I will say this about Coach Sloan. We got together, I think that same time I told you about the 20-year reunion. We got together up in Greensboro for that 20-year reunion, 1974 to 1994, the same time I put that tape in. We had to go upstairs. Coach Sloan and I and my wife got on the elevator in the lobby and rode up to the floor. I'm not sure which floor it was, but during the course of the elevator, that's when Coach Sloan realized that I was a great guy after all. And I forgave him at that particular point. So it was just the elevator ride. So that little, how long it took, he turned to me and said, Phil, he said, I've never had anybody to change the way that you did. And I said, Coach, are you sure I'm the one that changed, or is it that you were the one that changed? So anyway, that's all back on 20 years ago. And I moved on because I had become a successful high school coach, one of the best in the area. And I think that's what the Fieldman, who? Not that Fieldman, that Fieldman there, that Fieldman. And had he had come to me when I needed a father, when I needed some guidance, when I needed some soft love. I didn't need tough love at that point. I need a dad. Now David Thompson had a daddy, so he could chew David out, and David can run and talk to his dad. He chewed me out. I mean, I don't have another male. I can go to my mom, but I did not have another male figure to go to, and that's what I miss. And when people start comparing, I know I would have gotten that from Dean Smith because I got that while I was in high school. One other little thing that I don't think I've ever mentioned before is when I decided to become a teacher in the Wake County Public School System, Dean Smith wrote a letter of recommendation, not Norm Sloan. When I went to start working and getting a job, I asked Coach Smith if he would write me a letter of recommendation, and he did that. And it's on file even today, the letter that Coach Smith wrote for me. Because he just would take time, and we're just two different type of people. Coach Sloan, get out, he wanted every ounce out of you and draw that out of you, which we gave him a national championship, coach of the year, great winning record, but I did not get everything I could have gotten. So when I became a coach for 20-some years, 25, 26 years, I was that type of coach that gave, not just on the court, but more so off the court as well. And a lot of people call me, Facebook me, Coach Spence, Daddy, these guys are 50 years old. And they, yeah, you touched my life, Coach Spence. I'm who I am because of you, Coach Spence. Thank you, Coach Spence. And so to me, that's what it's all about, really.
What was it like coming full circle and being the high school basketball coach at your high school?
It was great. It was great. I started coaching at Broughton. Was my first when I graduated from state and started teaching. Coach McLean, my high school coach, was the coach there at Broughton, and he asked me to be the volunteer assistant. So I volunteered with a coach, Coach McLean then. But then I went to Cary High School for 10 years, East Wake High School for 10 years, and then I did North Carolina Central College. I put 4 years there as well as a volunteer at Broughton. So, and I volunteered at Athens Drive as well. So I did 2 years of volunteer work, 4 years of college work, and 20 years of high school work.
Did you have the opportunity to leave the state of North Carolina, or were you just, your home state, your hometown?
Yeah, home state, hometown, the place where we were national champs. I got a pretty good reputation here. I could have gone anywhere I wanted to, but there's no place like home, and I like being in North Carolina. Indiana's not a bad place either. Don't get me wrong, and I got going back to Vincennes on my bucket list. I do want to walk that campus one more time. That was a great year of my life, and I knew it was going to be two. Happened to be one. It was so quick. Go to the trials, come back home, state them, come by. I signed the contract. Never came back to Vincennes. Never did.
Tell us a little bit about Coach Sparks.
Coach Sparks is a great coach. He taught me the fundamentals. He was a big guy, played pro ball. I would spend a lot of time before practice, after practice. He drilled me. He cared about me. Shared his family with me, come by the house, stuff like that. Great man. It was a great year. He was a great guy.
Coach Spence, did anybody who I'm assuming we're going to talk about religion. You're not supposed to talk about religion, I guess, sex, religion, and politics, but who instilled, and are you Christian, and who instilled those into you? Your mother?
Yeah, my mom did. My granddad that died when I was 10, my granddad was a preacher, and my mom was a preacher's daughter. So religion was always in the house, But then when I went to Broughton High School, Coach Ed McLean, my high school coach, introduced me to the FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And again, I was a young man. And I remember whenever it was Danny Lotz, who was, I don't know, what's his name? The big preacher right in North Carolina. I can't think of his name, but it'll come to me. John Lotz was the assistant coach at Carolina. It was John Lotz, Danny Lotz, they were brothers. And Coach Ed McLean and myself, I was 16 years old. They came by the ghetto, picked me up, and carried me to Wilmington, North Carolina, where I gave my first testimony. And Danny Lotz is the son-in-law. Oh man, why did it slip, man? It's gonna come to me. It's gonna come. The big Christian guy in North Carolina. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about or not.
No.
Okay.
But we can find it. It's no big deal.
No big deal, right? Yeah. Danny Lotz is his son-in-law, and he that's what went down there. So I've always had religion and Christianity, not only from my household, but Coach McLean, my high school coach, helped to instill that through the Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
How close-knit are you guys still today from the national championship team?
The sunroom, but they call it sunroom for a reason. Yeah, we are very close. As a matter of fact, I think we're probably closer now than we were closer then. We have a group text, and we're always in contact. Anytime state is playing sports, preferably basketball, but football games, anything, we text each other throughout the game and, oh, and that was a bad call and blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that. So we do that. But one thing that I really like about this is that every Sunday morning for about the last year or so, last year and a half, every Sunday morning, David Thompson, who was our music director, we call him Deacon Dave. Deacon Dave would start us out with some gospel music via YouTube. So it'd be 3 or 4 nice religious songs, gospel songs that'll sort of get us going. And then Pastor Tommy Brothers would come on and lead us in scripture, lead us in prayer. He would preach. He would give us a sermon every Sunday morning after our regular church service. So about 11 o'clock or so, David would come on with his music, and about 11:30, Tommy would come on and preach to us. And we've done this for every Sunday morning for the last year, maybe year and a half. And that's what I like about it, because if some of the guys got something to say, if we need to pray for somebody or everybody or anybody, we would do it then. We've all had our ups and downs. As a matter of fact, on May the 5th, my wife came downstairs and found me dead. Dead. I was dead as a doornail. She tried to revive me, CPR. That didn't work. She had to call 911. They came over and asked her to leave out the room. They put those electrical things on my chest and brought me back around. And thank God I'm here today. You know, so yeah, we all had ups and downs, and that was pretty tragic. So that was on May the 5th, and here it is now, December the, 15th or whatever. And yeah, I was dead. She did all she could. She couldn't do nothing. As a matter of fact, I was sitting in the chair, sort of like this room, down in my office downstairs. And when she said she was being in chest compression, hitting me so hard that I fell out the chair onto the floor. And I still didn't wake up. She said, still didn't come around. So thank God she came down when she did. The whole thing was that we were expecting a phone call. And the phone call came through. And then the young man left a message. And so my wife was saying, well, why didn't you answer the phone or at least intercept the message? But she came downstairs and there I was. She said my head was still back, my tongue stuck out my mouth wide open, and gone. And she's hollering and screaming and shouting and shaking and doing all she could do, and nothing. So she did what she could, and she called 911. And they came over, rushed over, and brought me back around.
Was it a heart attack?
So what now?
Was it a heart attack?
No. They thought it was. I had a stroke 20 years ago when I was coaching the Simpsons. So they thought I had a second stroke. But when they put the thing on my brain, they realized that I had several blood clots, big blood clots in my lungs, and that had what triggered everything. So they had to, for the last 6 months, they've been dissolving the blood clots and getting me to come back around and whatnot.
Are you healthy today?
I'm better today. I'm not 100%, but I'm not 0%. I'm closer to 100 than the 0. Yes, I am. One time I could walk down the steps, more or less up the steps, and I'll be totally out of breath at the bottom of the steps. But now I can go up and down, and I can do more things. You know, I'm not ready to play a game of basketball. Don't get me wrong, but I'm a lot better than what I was. Yes, I am. Thank God for that.
So are you retired? Are you still coaching? Or do you still watch basketball? Are you still associated with the game?
Yeah, I retired in 2004. I retired when I was 50 years old. I sure did. Threw in the towel. Sure did. Called it quits. But I think I did some substitute teaching for about 4 or 5 years after that. I did 1 year of volunteering coaching. The team was a great team. You know, the boys played well. But no, I just stay around the house now, watch TV, and spend as much time with my grandkids. Before COVID, COVID's come along now, and I don't get out much. I don't see people much because my immune system is so weak that I really can't take take that COVID disease. So I feel as though, excuse me, about like coaching. The guy can't score if you don't let him get the ball. So I'm like, I'll be all right as long as I don't get the COVID. So I'm doing the defense that don't get the COVID. Because once I get the COVID, it'll be kind of hard to stop. So that's where I am.
I think I have the answer to my question, but would you do anything differently in your career?
Oh man, that is a good question. You know, I speak of Dean Smith, but I love being a national champion. So I don't know if I would swap for that. I know a lot of guys that play professional ball and their life after basketball isn't as good as my life when I didn't have the basketball. In other words, I'm out of debt, on my home, no worries, no stresses. A lot of guys play pro ball, stressed out, don't know where the next dollar comes from. So I believe everything. I think I'm just living in God's plans. And God's plan supersedes man's plan. And just because I wanted to play NBA, who knows, I could have gone there and broken some or done something. I don't know. I have touched more people going down this path than I would have if I had played in the NBA, play pro ball. I don't know if I would have changed anything. I think I married the right girl. I don't know if I changed that. I think everything turned out the way it's supposed to.
And you said you're a grandfather.
Grandfather. I got three. I got two beautiful granddaughters and a little grandson. Both my granddaughters are 8 and 5 months apart, and the grandson is 4. I'm sorry, 9, and 4. Yep, love her to death.
And how many children do you have?
2 daughters.
2 daughters.
2 daughters, and both of my daughters are doctors.
Oh man! Oh yeah. No, you wouldn't do anything different because it just wouldn't come around to what it's like right now.
Right. Now they are medical doctors. My first one has her PhD, and my second one has her EDD. But the doctor is their title. So they both are doctors, and I'm so proud of my daughters. You know, some guys' daughters pregnant and got this and got that, and mine did the right thing, waited patiently. I told my life, this is the cycle of life. That day is coming. It ain't today, but it's coming. Just be patient. First things first. And they love to learn, and they kept learning and reading. And I'm just so proud to have 2 daughters who are both doctors.
How's the Wolfpack treat you guys? How is the university pretty good to you guys? Always wanting you to come back, taking care of you guys if you want to go to a ball game, stuff like that?
Yeah, they treat us good. At one point, again, pre-COVID, I pretty much had 2 seats, sometimes 4 seats. I could go to the game. I just make a call to the basketball office, let them know if me and Paul are coming or if the girls are coming. Sometimes I would take one of my daughters and the son-in-law, and then I would take, but anyway, yeah, I went 4 seats, and they always took care of us, asked us to speak to the guys, asked us to be around the guys, and I would see David and Tommy at the game a lot since they're from North Carolina, more so than Timmy and them, but they Indiana, Chicago area now. But I would see David a lot of the games, Tommy a lot of the games. So. Yeah, the Wolfpack takes care of us.
Coach Phil Spence, Coach Phil Spence, it's like being an Oscar winner. Coach Phil Spence, 1974 national basketball, NCAA champion. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. I know we ran a little bit long, but I appreciate it, and I think everyone else will. Thanks, Billy, and thanks for calling, and thanks for getting Timmy to the Hall of Fame. He was totally surprised. He was shocked. Because when I told him about you and you wanted to talk to him, he called me back about 5:30. So, but I put it on the text with the guys. I told the guys. So all the guys, congratulations, Timmy. And then whenever Timmy responded back, he said,
man, I don't know nothing about this. LOL. Thank you guys, but what in the world going on? So I said, look here, man, check your text. I text you first, you know. And so he said, yeah, tell him to call me. Did you get up with him?
Yes, we got a hold of him. Yes. Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
But fantastic. I thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you too, Billy. And have a good one.